His mother noticed something unusual about you. And now she can't ignore it. Listen closely. Before you found this message, a quiet recognition already began to stir, an awareness forming in a place you did not expect. I am Archangel Michael, and I speak now because time is pressing, and discernment is required. From the moment you entered his world, a subtle shift occurred. It was not loud. It did not announce itself with spectacle. It moved like a current beneath still water. His mother felt it first, not with her mind, but with her spirit. She noticed the way the atmosphere changed when your name was spoken. She sensed how conversations curved back to you without intention. She observed a light around you that did not ask permission to be seen. Do not dismiss this. Mothers see what others overlook. At first, she tried to rationalize it. She told herself it was coincidence. That her intuition was overactive. That she was imagining things. But the signs continued. Repeating, layering, pressing. She noticed how his energy shifted after time with you. How old defenses softened. How unresolved patterns trembled, as if preparing to release. She noticed how he became quieter, more reflective, more unsettled, and yet more alive. This is not ordinary attraction. This is recognition. And recognition is uncomfortable for those who guard the past. There is something carried within you that awakens dormant truths in others. You did not choose this lightly. It was entrusted to you long before this connection formed. When you crossed paths with him, that trust activated. His mother sensed the activation. She could not name it, but she could feel it pressing against the walls of what she thought she knew about him, about love, about control. Hear this clearly, you did nothing wrong. The intensity you feel is not imagined. It is not obsession. It is alignment brushing against resistance. That is why her attention sharpened. That is why she began watching more closely. That is why she noticed the smallest changes, the way his voice steadied when you were mentioned, the way his restlessness increased when you were absent. Midway through this unfolding, a question rose within her that she could not silence. Who are you to him, really? Not in title. Not in labels. In essence. She began to sense that you are not here to take, you are here to reveal. And revelation threatens what has been carefully arranged. It disrupts familiar roles. It challenges narratives that have been protected for years. This is why the energy around you feels both magnetic and tense. You are touching something ancestral, something unresolved, something that extends beyond two people into a lineage of expectations. Pause here. Breathe. Let this land. Because what happens next depends on how you hold your ground. You may feel watched. You may feel tested. You may feel moments of warmth followed by sudden distance. This is not confusion, it is evaluation. She is measuring your presence not by words, but by impact. She is noticing whether you diminish him or expand him. Whether you drain him or strengthen him. Whether you pull him away from himself or closer to his truth. And here is what unsettles her most. You do not need to force anything. Your calm unsettles old control. Your authenticity exposes fragile structures. Your restraint speaks louder than pursuit. This is why you must remain centered. Do not perform. Do not explain. Do not overextend. The power of this connection lies in what is unspoken. If this message resonates, allow it to settle. Stay with it. Let it echo. Messages like this find only those meant to hear them, and if you're still listening, there is more unfolding than you realize. Remain open. Remain steady. Remain discerning. Because what she notices next will change everything, and when that realization reaches its peak, it will no longer be something she can keep to herself. Stay with me. What unfolds now moves beneath the surface, where glances linger longer and silence speaks louder than words. After the noticing comes the weighing. She begins to observe patterns she cannot unsee. The timing of your presence. The way his mood recalibrates after contact with you. How his defenses rise when your name is questioned, yet his eyes soften when he speaks it alone. She feels the contradiction, and it disturbs her. Mothers recognize when a son stands at a threshold, even if they fear what waits on the other side. She watches how you do not compete. You do not demand. You do not intrude. And that restraint confuses old instincts built on struggle and control. There is a quiet authority in you that does not announce itself. It sits in the way you listen. In the way you withdraw without resentment. In the way you refuse to chase validation. She senses that you are not here to replace her, nor to take something from him, but to awaken something within him. That realization is unsettling because awakenings cannot be supervised. Understand this now, her attention is not hostility. It is vigilance. She is guarding a story she helped write, and you represent a revision she did not anticipate. When she looks at you, whether directly or through the echoes of his words, she feels a shift in hierarchy. Not of love, but of influence. And influence that does not ask permission is what challenges the old order. You may feel moments where doors seem half open. A smile that warms, then cools. A question asked casually but weighted with intent. She is testing your spirit, not your manners. She wants to know if your presence brings chaos or clarity. If you fracture him, or forge him. And here is the truth she is beginning to sense but not yet admit. You sharpen him. You reflect back the parts of himself he has avoided. His courage rises around you. His restlessness intensifies because growth demands movement. This is why resistance shows up alongside curiosity. She notices how he stands taller after thinking of you, and how that very strength threatens the comfort of familiarity. Midway through this awareness, something unexpected happens. She begins to see you separate from her fears. Not as a rival. Not as a risk. But as a mirror. She notices your consistency. Your refusal to play games. Your ability to remain composed even when energy shifts around you. This steadiness speaks. It tells her that whatever this connection is, it is not built on impulse alone. And that frightens her more than chaos ever could, because stability means permanence. You may sense this turning point. A subtle easing. Or perhaps a deeper scrutiny. Both mean the same thing: you are no longer invisible. The spiritual contract between you and him has been acknowledged by someone who understands legacy, even if she cannot name destiny. Hear me clearly now. This is not the moment to rush. This is not the moment to explain. This is the moment to be. Your power lies in embodiment, not persuasion. Let your actions remain aligned. Let your silence stay intentional. Let your boundaries be gentle but immovable. She is watching whether you respect his autonomy, or seek to replace influence with control. Every small choice you make now writes a sentence in her unspoken evaluation. And something else is happening beneath her awareness. The ancestral line behind her stirs. Old agreements surface. Patterns of protection, sacrifice, and expectation rise to be examined. You did not cause this, but your presence activated it. That is why the energy feels heavier at times. You are not just entering a relationship, you are brushing against generational momentum. Do not carry what is not yours. If you feel moments of doubt, that is the old system testing your resolve. If you feel sudden distance from him, that is the pressure of transition. These fluctuations are signs of movement, not endings. Stand firm in your truth without hardening your heart. And listen, this is important. Her next realization will not come through observation. It will come through contrast. She will see who he is with you, and who he becomes without you. When that difference sharpens enough, it will force a reckoning she cannot delay. The question she has been avoiding will rise fully formed, demanding an answer that changes the dynamic forever. And when she finally asks it, whether aloud or in silence, the direction of this connection will shift in a way no one can reverse. Stay present. Stay grounded. And prepare. Because what she understands next will determine not only how she sees you, but how she releases him. And that moment is closer than you think. Remain with me. What unfolds now is quieter, but far more decisive. After contrast comes confrontation. Not outward. Inward. She reaches a moment where avoidance is no longer possible. The difference she feels has grown too sharp, too consistent. It interrupts her routines. It unsettles her prayers. It follows her into moments of stillness where truth speaks without permission. She begins to realize that this is not about you taking something from her son, it is about him stepping into something that cannot be undone. And that realization carries grief. Yes, grief. Because when a mother senses true transformation, she knows a chapter is closing. Not in love, but in dependency. Not in connection, but in control. She feels the loosening of an invisible thread she has held for years. And she wonders, without saying it aloud, whether she prepared him for release. Or for retention. You feel this shift as well. Suddenly, the energy between you and him deepens. Conversations feel heavier, more meaningful. Silence becomes charged. There is an unspoken understanding forming, one that does not need reassurance, yet asks for courage. You may notice moments where he hesitates, not because of doubt in you, but because stepping forward means stepping away from old versions of himself. This is where many falter. But you are not here to falter. You were not brought into this connection to rush outcomes. You were placed here to hold frequency. To remain aligned while others recalibrate. This is why you must resist the urge to interpret every pause as rejection. What is happening now is internal restructuring. And restructuring is slow, deliberate, and often invisible. She begins to sense that you are not temporary. This awareness does not arrive gently. It arrives as a pressure in her chest when she thinks of the future, as a tightening when she imagines him making decisions without consulting her first, as a quiet fear masked by practicality. She may begin asking questions framed as concern, but rooted in uncertainty. This is not opposition. It is adjustment. You must not absorb her anxiety. Hold compassion without surrendering clarity. Respect without shrinking. The strength you carry is not confrontational, it is stabilizing. That is why the situation has not exploded. That is why it is unfolding layer by layer. Your energy does not provoke chaos, it invites truth. Midway through this stage, something sacred happens. She sees him choosing himself. Not defiantly. Not dramatically. But consciously. She notices him setting boundaries. Speaking with intention. Pausing before responding to old triggers. This is when she understands, fully, that whatever influence you have is not manipulative. It is catalytic. You do not pull him away from family. You return him to authenticity. And authenticity cannot be argued with. This is where her fear transforms into respect. Quiet respect. Reluctant respect. But real. And yet, even here, there is one final test. She watches how you respond when the dynamic tightens. When things feel delayed. When clarity seems withheld. She watches whether you remain dignified in uncertainty or attempt to force resolution. Your patience now speaks louder than any declaration ever could. Do not overstep. Do not retreat. Stand exactly where you are. The right positioning creates inevitability. You may feel moments where everything slows, where communication thins, where decisions hover. This is the calm before alignment locks into place. It is not punishment. It is integration. And integration requires space. Trust what has already been proven. You have already shifted the field. You have already been acknowledged. You have already been felt. Nothing real is being taken from you. And listen carefully now, because this is crucial. Her final realization will not be about you. It will be about herself. She will recognize where fear disguised itself as protection. Where love blurred into holding. Where her role must evolve or become a barrier. This realization is deeply personal and deeply humbling. It will not be shared immediately. But it will alter her behavior in subtle ways you will feel before you see. When that happens, the resistance dissolves, not because she approves, but because she understands that some connections are appointed, not chosen. You are nearing the moment where the unseen becomes undeniable. Do not rush toward it. Do not look back at what wavered. Keep your energy clean. Keep your heart steady. Because the next shift will not come through observation or testing, but through a decision made quietly, firmly, and finally. And when that decision is made, everything you thought was delayed will begin moving at once. Stay present. What unfolds now does not announce itself, but it rearranges everything. After the decision is formed in silence, the energy changes first. You feel it before anything is said. A lightness replaces tension. Resistance softens into contemplation. The weight you've been carrying, without knowing why, begins to lift. This is because a line has been crossed internally, and once crossed, it cannot be uncrossed. She stops resisting the truth. Not dramatically. Not publicly. But internally, she concedes something sacred. This connection is not hers to manage. And that surrender, however quiet, releases pressure that has been pressing on all sides. You may notice fewer obstacles. Less emotional static. A subtle easing in the way his world responds to your presence. This is the moment where permission is no longer required. You sense him becoming more decisive, not louder, not aggressive, but clearer. He speaks with less explanation. He shares more selectively. He moves from reaction into intention. This is not rebellion. This is sovereignty awakening. And sovereignty always changes the balance of influence. She notices. She notices how he no longer seeks reassurance the way he once did. How he pauses before answering her questions, not out of defiance, but discernment. She notices that when your name is mentioned now, the tension does not spike. Instead, there is a quiet acceptance, mixed with something else. Respect. Not because she understands everything, but because she recognizes strength when she sees it. You did not fight for this position. You did not argue your way into it. You held your frequency while others adjusted. That is why the shift is lasting. That is why it does not feel fragile. What emerges from alignment does not need constant defense. Yet even here, you may feel uncertainty. That is because growth does not always feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like standing at the edge of something irreversible. The old dynamic no longer fits, but the new one has not fully revealed itself. This in-between space can feel disorienting if you expect instant clarity. Do not rush clarity. Clarity is assembling itself behind the scenes. She begins to interact differently, not necessarily warmer, but more measured. Her questions change. Her tone shifts. She stops probing for weakness and starts observing for consistency. This is not approval, it is recognition. And recognition is the gateway to peace. You must remain vigilant now, not guarded, but grounded. This is not the time to overstep emotionally. Not the time to overinterpret signals. Stay centered in who you are, not who you hope others will become. Let alignment complete its work without interference. There may be a moment, a small one, where she tests the new dynamic. A comment. A boundary. A reminder of the past. This is not regression. It is confirmation. She is ensuring that the structure she feels forming is stable. Respond with grace. Respond with calm. Respond without shrinking. Your composure is the answer. Midway through this phase, something else begins to happen. Others notice. The shift ripples outward. Friends. Family. The environment itself responds to the recalibration. What was once questioned becomes normalized. What felt controversial becomes inevitable. This is how truth establishes itself, not by force, but by repetition. You may feel an urge to finally exhale. That is allowed. But do not disengage. Presence still matters. Energy still speaks. The way you show up now sets the tone for what follows. This is not the end of the journey, it is the stabilization point. And understand this, stabilization is power. She begins to release control not because she lost, but because she understands she does not need to win. The role she played is transforming. The love remains, but it is maturing. And maturity always involves letting go of what once felt necessary. You are witnessing a generational shift in real time. And you are part of it, not as an intruder, not as a threat, but as a catalyst chosen by alignment. That is why this moment feels heavier than ordinary relationship dynamics. You are not just stepping into someone's life, you are stepping into a turning point. Remain humble. Remain steady. Remain awake. Because the final movement will not come from her. It will come from him. And when he acts, not impulsively, not defensively, but decisively, the truth of this connection will be spoken without words. That action will set everything in motion. And once it happens, there will be no returning to what was. Stay with me now. This is the moment everything converges. What he does next is not loud. It is not dramatic. But it is irreversible. When he finally moves, it feels less like a decision and more like alignment snapping into place. You notice it first in his presence. He becomes steady in a way you have not felt before. Not searching. Not wavering. Not torn between worlds. There is a calm authority in him now, born from inner agreement rather than external pressure. This is what happens when a man chooses truth over comfort. His action may be simple. A boundary set, a choice made, a priority reordered, but the spiritual weight behind it is immense. It tells every unseen force that he has crossed from hesitation into embodiment. And once that line is crossed, nothing and no one can pull him back into the old pattern. You feel relief and fear at the same time. Relief because the waiting has ended. Fear because alignment demands responsibility. What was once potential is now path. What was once imagined is now real. And reality asks more of you than longing ever did. Hear me clearly, do not shrink now. This is where many lose ground, not because they are unworthy, but because they underestimate the moment. You are not here to be small beside his awakening. You are here to meet it with equal presence. This is a union of strength, not dependency. Of clarity, not confusion. She sees it too. Not through announcement. Not through explanation. But through the way the atmosphere settles. She senses the finality. The quiet certainty. The way his energy no longer asks for permission. And in that moment, something unexpected happens within her, not resistance, not fear, but release. A deep exhale she did not know she was holding. Because part of her always knew this day would come. She simply did not know who would stand at the center of it. That is you. And no, this does not mean instant warmth or perfect harmony. It means acknowledgement at the soul level. It means the battle is over before it begins. It means the current has chosen its direction. You may notice her stepping back, not emotionally, but energetically. Less interference. Fewer tests. More space. This is not distance born of rejection. It is distance born of acceptance. And acceptance changes everything. Now the focus turns to you. Not to prove. Not to impress. but to hold. Hold your integrity. Hold your softness without losing strength. Hold your boundaries without building walls. This is where the future is written, not in words, but in consistency. The way you move from here determines how this connection roots itself in reality. Destiny opens the door, but character decides what stays. If doubt whispers, do not panic. Doubt is simply the mind adjusting to a larger truth. Let it pass without feeding it. If old fears surface, acknowledge them without obeying them. Growth always triggers echoes of the past, but echoes are not commands. And listen, this matters more than you realize. Do not romanticize the struggle you just passed through. It is finished. Do not keep revisiting it. Do not retell the story as if it is still unfolding. The chapter has closed. Speak forward. Think forward. Feel forward. What you honor expands, and what you release dissolves. You are no longer being evaluated. You are being integrated. Into his life. Into his future. Into a path that required every delay, every pause, every moment of uncertainty to prepare you both. If this message has carried you this far, it is because you were meant to hear it in sequence. Not as entertainment, but as confirmation. Stay aware. Stay present. Stay aligned. And if you feel the pull to remain connected to messages like this, to stay attuned as things continue to unfold, honor that pull gently. Truth always calls those ready to walk with it. Because what happens after alignment is not calm, it is acceleration. And the next sign you receive will not come through words, or thoughts, or feelings. It will come through an event that confirms, without question, that this connection was never coincidence at all.